You hear that? It's the quiet before the storm. Except it's not really stormy, and what do you say we make it less quiet? Hey-ho, neighboritos. Ken Ray here with Ken Ray today. No guest. Guests aplenty for the rest of the week, though. Just you listen. Let's do a couple of short things today. Well, 3, actually. Let's do my expectations for the WWDC keynote, one hope for the WWDC keynote, and my plan for tomorrow. I'm going to keep the expectation short. There's going to be, I think, and I said the same thing for the April event, and people seemed surprised, and then it happened, and I could be wrong this time, but I don't think so. There's going to be an M-series MacBook of some sort, I think. Probably a MacBook Pro, maybe a MacBook or a MacBook Air, I don't know. I mean, it's a developer show, so I think it's probably going to be a Pro. And it feels like this is going to happen for every Apple event until the whole line is transitioned. Here's what's weird, though. How are we going to know when the whole line is transitioned? Like, there used to be a 17-inch MacBook Pro. There is currently no 17-inch MacBook Pro. Could Apple do another 17-inch MacBook Pro? Well, of course they could. I mean, it's hard to see anything bigger than that, but they could do that. And so you might say, well, we got a 13-inch and a 15-inch. I guess we're good. And then they come out with a 17, and it turns out the whole thing wasn't transitioned, or they weren't done. Actually, rumor for today is a 14-inch and a 16-inch MacBook Pro. Maybe with an M1 processor, maybe with an M2, or M something else, or something else 1. Who knows, right? Apple Silicon is all well, I say we know, but we don't even know that. We don't know that we're going to get those, but it's hard to imagine that we're not going to get that, especially at a developer event. Let's move on. What's his name? Daniel Ives, Wedbush analyst Daniel Ives, keeps talking about an emphasis on privacy and security. I mean, I don't think they'll talk about it less than they usually do, but it's hard to figure them talking about it more than they usually do because it's a developer show. It's a developer show and it's a consumer show. Jeff Gamet said here, I think last Monday or last Tuesday sometime. Wednesday, maybe. Heck, could have been Thursday. I'm not sure. He argues that the WWDC keynote is at least as much for consumers and the general public as it is for the developers. Sure. And so maybe you want to keep, banging the privacy and security drum. Except Apple's already synonymous with privacy and security as far as consumers are concerned. Developers, there are probably going to be some developers watching who are not going to be happy with Apple's emphasis on privacy and security because they will have been bitten by app tracking transparency. So, I don't know. They'll mention it. I don't think it's going to be as big a part of the presentation as Wedbush analyst Daniel Ives thinks it will be. But we'll see. I did, of course, skip over the operating system announcements because that's a given. We're going to hear about watchOS, tvOS, iPadOS, iOS, macOS. We're going to hear about all those things. As far as what we're going to hear about them, pass. I am perfectly happy not to guess. I am perfectly happy to be surprised and delighted. And that's all you get out of me as far as prediction is concerned. Now, I do have a hope. And kind of a prediction as well, though not necessarily a prediction for today. Eventually, Apple has to do a developer kit for mixed reality or augmented reality, assuming they're going to do a mixed reality headset at some point, leading into an augmented reality, pair of glasses at some point. I'm going to talk about a developer kit and all of this. And when I talk about the developer kit, I'm not talking about software. I'm talking about a physical something, just like they, let people order the M1 Mac Mini last year around WWDC. At some point, they're going to have to do that. The same way Oculus used to do the test headsets. before Facebook bought them and took them over. I'm not expecting that today. And I wouldn't be surprised if it happens today. I would be delighted if it happens today. And while I'm not expecting it, I wouldn't be surprised. Unlike Apple Watch, the AR, VR, MR thing, especially VR and mixed reality, that's going to rely on developers. Apps for Apple Watch would be neat, but not necessary. I mean, health, exercise, notifications, telling time occasionally. These are the primary uses for Apple Watch. Sometimes I wonder whether Apple gave developers access to Apple Watch. I mean, one, to mollify them, because can you imagine how upset developers would be if they hadn't had access to Apple Watch? But I also wonder sometimes if really the big reason that Apple gave developers access to Apple Watch was in the hopes that developers would find a killer app for the thing. Because I don't think anybody has. I mean, the health stuff, the notifications, the things that come built in, these are the killer apps, I think. I think Apple would be more than happy if some other developer came up with something else that nobody ever thought of before that revolutionized something. I argue that Apple Watch has already revolutionized health and continues to do so with things like the AFib detection, all the talk of the blood sugar reading, and I'm saying all of that wrong, but you get the idea. Apple has to release a developer kit for AR, VR, mixed reality, because a device like that is going to rely on apps. Apple will have some apps of its own, sure, but the real success of that device, at least the mixed reality thing and the virtual reality thing, is going to rely on developers. Developers. Did I get them all? I think that's all of them. It feels like this has to, not has to. It feels like this should happen at a WWDC. This developer kit thing, this physical thing that they rent out, whatever. That said, Apple did announce Apple Watch in the fall, and they released it in the spring. Again, though, the watch didn't rely on apps the way that this thing that we're all expecting, anticipating, hoping for in some cases is going to. The real question is, could they do a developer kit for such a device and not release it for another year? Because as much as I want this thing by Christmas, that's really hard to say. And it's also not actually how Apple does a first round product, right? I mean, iPhone hit in the summer. Plenty of times for bumps to be smoothed out by Christmas. iPad hit in the spring. Even more time for bumps to be worked out by Christmas. Apple Watch hit in the spring. If we see a dev kit for a mixed reality device today, we're still not going to see such a thing until spring of 2022 at the earliest, in my opinion. And again, I'm not expecting that today, but I am very much hoping. So there are my predictions with almost no predictions. You're welcome. Let's talk about tomorrow. I am speaking at a Mac user group, the group in Austin, Texas. Not in person, of course. All I'm going to do is a zoom, and vroom, or maybe Skype. I'm not sure. And I'm nervous. I'll tell you, I am nervous about it. And I don't know why I'm telling you I'm nervous about it, but I am telling you I'm nervous about it, and I am nervous about it. I think the reason is because I have no idea what I'm talking about, except that I'm going to be talking about the WWDC announcements. So there's really no way I can know what I'm going to be talking about yet. The cool thing is, though, I will have produced 2 or 3 shows covering today's announcements by tomorrow night's event. So I should be fine. I'll let you know how it goes. unless you're one of the attendees, in which case you can let me know how it goes. The one thing that makes me feel kind of okay about it is I didn't know what I was going to be talking about for this show 20 minutes ago. So look at us now. It'll be fine, I think. More in a few minutes, in a few hours. In the meantime, enjoy the keynote. Oh, and hey, send me a thing and let me know what you think. Were you excited? Were you pleased? Were there things that you expected that you didn't get? Were there things you didn't expect that you did? info@macoscan.com, info@macoscan.com. You can also leave me a voicemail. 716-780-4080 is the phone number to call. 716-780-4080. And it would be just like you calling or emailing me if you were to email and or call me. Stuff's a happening. Enjoy the thing. We'll blah blah.